Welcome everyone to this Force Friday. Today we're going to discuss a very exciting subject to me, and that is the combination of animation and figure drawing. Like, how do they relate to one another? How does that work, right? Some of you may know this at this point, but my background started actually at Disney Feature Animation. It's pretty much my first art job out of college. And that profoundly affected the way that I drew during that and thereafter. And that also led itself into Force figure drawing, right? It's my former animation training that brought to my attention the importance of physics in figure drawing. So today we're going to bring that over to the figure drawings, show you how to do that, right? Like, how do we keep bringing the concept of animation into your drawings, right? So with that, let's say hello to our other Force instructors. How are you doing, Swenley?
Good. This, I think, will be an exciting stream because animation has always been an inspiration for me in drawing. So it's great to be able to, through Force drawing, bring that to the figure, and think of movement rather than the still images.
Yeah, I know it's I haven't animated in a while, so I kind of forget the coolness of it, until I actually start doing it again, and how awesome it is to bring the vivacity and the vitality of animation into the actual figure drawing itself, to really capture that idea of movement. I think, to my own fault, I think that's something I really have to stay on top of and remember and bring forward to new students and to this this channel of ours, is just how important this all actually is. That we're always thinking in terms of movement, and that's what's bringing these figures to life. That's making it different than, again, to most other drawing approaches as well. So
Yes.
how you doing, Mrityunjay?
Hey guys, I'm good. Again, excited. Yeah, I mean, this is what brought me to Force again. That's the most different thing I would say we are doing. It's all about motion and movement. So yeah, I would say Force and animation is kind of same thing, just different terms. So yeah.
I think you're right. It's just same thing, different terms. Force could be brought out for lots of, I think, physics. We talked about line of action in prior sessions. Like, we're just being a little more specific than line of action. But the ideas of gravity, we talk about gravity a lot on this channel. We're talking about Force, which is physics. We talked about balance, and these are all things that animators, even today with 3D animation, those are still things to be aware of, right? As you're animating, right? And we want to bring all that understanding to our drawing as well. So, all right, so let's get to it, everyone. Again, those of you that are here joining us today, feel free to type into the chat. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. In fact, let me get that open so I could see. Hello, everyone. If you like what you're learning on our channel here, please remember to visit drawingforce.com. That's where Swenley, Mrityunjay, and I teach, right, in mentorship and in premium memberships, and also all the videos that go along with the curriculums that we instruct are on that website. And if you enjoy the channel, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell if you want to be notified, right? This way you don't have to worry about missing a Friday, okay? Okay, so on a technical note, I've went in this past week and I downloaded something called, it's not called Toolbar, it's called Framebar. So I downloaded something called Framebar into Photoshop, which has given me this bar that you guys are seeing here. And it's like just it's a plugin that helps make Photoshop a little easier to animate in, right? So it's got over here, you can see these two buttons. It's got 1 and a 2 written in it, and those allow you to put 1 frame in at a time or 2 frames in at a time. It has, I'd say, probably the most important thing it has going on in it, besides these shortcuts for adding frames, is onion skinning. So if you don't know what onion skinning is, If you know a real onion skin, an onion skin is pretty transparent. It's almost like tracing paper. They could call this tracing paper, right? But it's been called onion skinning. And basically what that means is when you have a layer that's on top of another one, the top layer has some transparency to it, right? So it's the same thing as going into layers and hitting the opacity and knocking it down by 25 or 50%. That's onion skinning, right? Just a fancier, fun way of describing it. So that's cool because you could toggle that on and off, and you can also control like the onion skin. Here you could see it says how many frames before or after do you want affected by that onion skinning, that transparency. And also what is the minimum or maximum opacity based on like how far out you're going frame wise. Right now I just have it set to 1 and it's at a max of 50, and it's using multiply, right? So multiply is the blend mode it's using to do so, right? So the programming in here is you're taking stuff from layers, and somebody was inventive enough to say, oh, animation works like this. I'm going to create this interface to have this, work automatically in that space, right? So that's all we're really looking at. Now, what you're looking at here in the drawings is, or this drawing is a while back when I was teaching at the Academy in San Francisco. What I realized was I'm going to, because I wanted animation so much more in the figure drawing itself, what I decided to do was have the model take poses that were going to be in succession, right? So I would tell the model, hey, like take on a particular movement, not a pose, but take on a particular movement, right? And they would go through that, and we would basically do 2 keys, and we would do a like a breakdown, right? So there's basically 3 poses per movement, right? And we would draw them out, and each drawing was like 30 seconds, right? It's really fast. So you're staying gestural as well. I think one of the things to be aware of in animation is you don't want to be sitting there like rendering out a drawing, right? You have to sort of emotionally get over the idea that you're going to do a pretty drawing for every drawing. Glenn Keane doesn't sit there and do pretty drawings. He does pretty animations, right? In an effort to do that, you're doing 200 drawings, 500 drawings, right? Imagine that. Imagine 200 drawings, and you're sketching across 200 to get your idea across, not one drawing. It's very different from a comic book artist mindset or an illustrator's mindset. I would say a step below the animation aspect of how many drawings you're creating would be maybe storyboarding, right? So in storyboarding, you have multiple drawings, frames basically of drawings giving you potentially some motion in them, right? You have like A, B or ABC poses. So in animation, you want to work fast and furious across lots of drawings, because all you want to do is get to the point of being able to flip the damn drawings, right? You want to see how things are moving. So it's a really fun exercise. Like I said, I would have the models go up there and take numerous poses per action, and the students would sketch it out. I had everybody buy a peg bar. You can get peg bars really cheap on the internet, and you can just hole punch, regular paper, Xerox paper, and then just sketch them out. And I taught them all how to basically animate, like really brief overview of this is how you animate, right? So that's what you're actually going to be looking at here in Photoshop. These are a couple of the ones that I had done in class to set up this example, right? So here we are. Here's the first one, right? And you can see some onion skinning going on there, right? You see how it's transparent. So it's like drawing 1, drawing 2, drawing 3, right? So here's the action. Now, if you didn't know any better, right, and I just showed you a drawing like this, I could say, well, that was my figure drawing, right? I did the figure drawing like this. This was a 30-second drawing off of the model. And that's it. But the knowledge you gain as an artist from drawing a person in motion is just so tremendous, right? So powerful to start thinking about a photograph or a pose of a model, not being them just standing there still, but they had to do something to get to that place. Of course, unless you're standing and you're drawing, a model with their hands at their sides, standing like it's like a turnaround. Sure, everything outside of that means they had to move from that, what I call a 0 state, which is where they're standing straight up and down, into some kind of pose, right? And here, of course, the models are even more dramatic than that. So here's our first action, right? 3 drawings. We got key 1. Let's call this our breakdown. And then key 2 is over here, right? It's kind of cool, right? Kind of cool to scrub across this, recognize each one of these is its own figure drawing. That's a drawing, that's a drawing, that's a drawing, right? And as I said before, normally that might be all you see is, oh, there's my figure drawing. But it has more thinking in it, more movement in it, because, you know, in this class at that time, we got to see the whole motion. So your job is when you see a model standing in a photograph is to imagine coming from and going to. Coming from is where did they come from to get to that moment in time? And where are they going to, right? Where would this pose keep going if you pushed it an extra 15 or 20%, like past where they are standing, right? So that's what I was trying to teach these students, right? It's like, wow, that could have been a drawing, that or that, but look, you know, moving all together, there's an actual motion that's going on here, right? So that's the first one. I have a second one here as well, right? So now we're going from here to here to here, right? Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, right? Again, I mean, I love it. I have to say, to me, it's super inspiring. It takes me back to when I was at SVA in New York. Disney was basically traveling around with the pencil test of Glenn Keane's of Beast when he knocks on the door. And you see his drawings moving, and I was like, damn, that is amazing. Like amazing. I need to get that skill and that energy in my drawings, right? Like I want to animate, right? And that's what you're getting to see here, but it's right from a model, right? It's the figure drawing to the model. And there isn't, you know, it's not facial expression, there's no audio, so we don't have that level of performance happening. But it's quite exciting to get to see your own drawings move, right? Across just 3 drawings, right? We got 3 drawings and look at how much action is happening. Think about abstractly what's going on here, right? Like, look at the closure on the screen left arm, right? So over here where my cursor is, that screen left arm, the closure of that versus, and over here, look at this edge right here of the torso, right? Where the screen right side of his ribs. So the screen right side of his ribs, you can see in my second drawing is really, right here is leading, right? It's the leading edge. It's leading us to the next pose. And notice how this arm starts to open up, right? So notice the lead with the rib cage and the compression of the arm starting to open, right? You see that? Really cool. And then boom, right? We're really leading with the shoulder now, and that arm opens entirely up. That whole side of that part of the body opens up. And that is super damn dramatic, right? Let's see if I could do this here. It always takes a little bit of fudging around because these tools take up so much space. But if I went here and I created a new layer, see if I could find this guy and put him up here. What I want to show you. Okay, I see. Hold on. I got to put this all the way up here. There we go. It's layer 10, layer 10. There it is. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is, is the following. Let's grab animator notes here. Is the awareness of this compression, right? And this moving, right? So as I start going this way, you'll notice this arm is now opening up. So we had this acute angle X here. So here's this angle, it's opening up, it's Y. Notice the rib cage is now pushing that way. Right there, you can see it, right? And then, wow, total release, right? The arm is here, and this side of the rib cage is now all the way down here. It also shows timing. So a key thing to keep in mind in animating is distance equals timing, right? So at line 1, between line and 1, 2, the distance is pretty short. From 2 to 3, the distance is great. So if we really did put this into an animated short, he started off slowly and then moved more quickly, right? Which makes sense compared to what he's doing, right? He's ramping up energy between the first 2 drawings and then exploding open, right, with his arm. in the last one, in drawing number 3, right? So that's kind of the abstract of what I see going on here, right? Remember, we went from this closed arm at X, the open arm at Y, and then fully open at, let's say, at Z, right? Boom, boom, boom. So this arm, if we go to Y, the path of it was probably something like this to get to that fist, you see. It would need other in-betweens. It probably should be something up here. You usually want to hit a key or a breakdown at the apex of a curve, right? Because if you go from a drawing that's here to here, and you only see that, let's say you think you're throwing a football, and it looks like that, then you don't have a sense of the arc, right? You need to know, well, like, where was the top of this before it went down here? If you see these 3 moments, well, at least you know it went up and down. But it's still not enough to create a curve, right? So all of a sudden you're like, well, I want the curvature in here, right? It's like, okay, well, now I'm going from here to here to here to here, you know, and the more points you make, the more round a line can become, right? It's like taking a square and turning it into a circle, right? Okay, well, hopefully that makes sense, right? And hopefully that's as exciting to you as it is to me. I just think it's really awesome to see drawings move like that, right? To watch, you know, watch all this energy, right? All this force in the body move from one place to the other, right? Just super exciting, right? I could sit here all day just looking at this, quite honestly. It's just so cool. Okay, so now what I brought in is I brought in a couple of photographs of some models, and I thought we would play around with this idea, right? So let's bring this up and this up a little bit here. Let's scroll this guy down. Let's expand the timeline so we can see what we're doing. So here you can see I already set this up. So we've got a photograph and I have 3 images, 3 layers basically, or 3 frames per photograph, right? So here's like my first one. So I thought, you know, let's take this one, and this is already a dynamic pose. So I'm gonna go from dynamism on one side, and I'm gonna push that dynamism to the other side, okay? All right, so let's see here. This is all set up. Let's use the soft touch brush, all right? And I'm already on that layer, and I need to go to it on the timeline. There we go. Okay. And I want to draw this out. Now, the issue here, the only thing that's frustrating, I think, about this always is, you know, space, right? And I'm on a Cintiq, a relatively large Cintiq, and still I'm like, oh, I got such a little space up here to work. But that's okay. You know, in a way, it's good because it's almost like drawing a thumbnail, right? It's like, let me thumbnail out the ideas. I'll be like very efficient. I'll be very efficient about what I think is going on here, right? I want to get this sketched out. All right, so his rear end's here, his legs popping out. I'm going to go for basic straight to curve shapes. All right, so he's like this. How's the chat looking, guys? Everything good there?
There's a question from Marla. She asks, I haven't heard you explicitly say it, Mike, but I had an aha moment that the CS and CS torso templates are designated as such due to the use of C and S curves in animation. Is that a valid insight?
Yeah, 100% valid insight. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, in fact, you know, we've probably said this since at some point in time, but you know, when you're animating, you really are moving from a C through an S pose to another C pose. Like, that's really what's happening. That's how you get from one C to its opposite, right? Because one C, you know, a C is like this and another C is like this, and you're trying to get smoothly from here to here. You need an S, right? You need an S to basically divide the power of one C. You'll see how this C connects to the top and this C is the same curve as the bottom. So you're splitting the power of each C through an S to make the transition smooth, right? So that's exactly what you're doing in animation, right? And then that same idea, you know, transports itself over here to the, you know, to our figure drawing, right? So, you know, just being aware of torso types and, you know, and so on helps us draw it more, right? So you'll notice here, it's a good question. Thank you, Marla. I'm being very efficient. I probably, if I was animating, I would probably do even less than this. You know, this is even much. Like, I just wanted you guys to get a sense of here's the shaping of this, right? Very simple. Okay, here, let's put it straight in here and kind of finish out the arm as a silhouette. All right, so there it is. Now I want to get to all the way over here though. So I'm going to hit another key, right? And I'm going to say, and let's see, I'm going to try to put the onion skin on, and let's say that the onion skinning goes for at least 6 frames after. Let's see how that works out. All right. I want to go even further. 2, 4, 6. Let's try this too. It's my first time really playing with this. There we go. Okay, so now that's what I wanted. I wanted to see it show up here, right? So I have it all the way over here. What am I going to do here? So I was thinking we could push the pose the other way. All right, so what if I did this? Let's think. I want to keep one foot here and one foot here, but I want his body more like this. But he's pushing into this even further. I probably have him bend his leg a little harder. Like so. Maybe have him turn his back a little bit so his elbow starts coming out. Put this back to 1 and 1 and see what this looks like. So there, right? So now we can see. I'm going from there to there. So I've pushed him further, right? I've taken him out of his back pose and I've driven the force of his body to the front of his shoulder right here, right? And I've turned his body too, right? I've turned his whole upper body, the back towards camera, right? As you could see. So now I would in between, right? Let's see if I don't know if I can get this to work for me. All right, so this is here. It's getting there. I really want to be able to see frames before. That's not what's doing it. Okay. So I could see the 2 drawings here. I'll do this one in red so we could really see it clearly. Let's get that on the timeline. So I'm right there. So what I want to do is I'm going to go from here. Let's go red. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. I want to go from here to here, right? So I'm going to put that line about right here. Right, and I'm moving his shoulder from here to here. So I'm going to put that about right here. So his back's going to get wider, of course, as he turns, right? And I can see his hand is there and is there. So his hand should land about right here. I want to think about the arc of the hand. So that's going to land about right here, all right? So you can see I'm going to start like, and I know I stiff armed him into this, right? So his arm should be about here and here. It's going to be something more like this. His torso, his pelvis didn't move much, and you can see I'm dividing up the legs here. So believe it or not, I am looking through this jumble of lines. I can see where the knees are. I can see where I have to get to over there and have to split up over there. I've got to split the back, right? I'm just doing it very quickly, but I can see where I'm dividing one drawing from another, right? You can see his head moved pretty far too. His head's about right here, right? So let's get rid of all the onion skinning so I can see what's going on. You see? So now he's moving from there, moving forward, and then finally landing in our last pose, right? So what's the point? The point is to understand that all of this is in motion, right? We're trying to think in motion. And as you're drawing models, you want to be aware of thinking of them in motion as well, right? Not only that, but the creative aspect of this, which is we went off of the model pose and we pushed the model to a different place. I basically animated my way out of this pose into a new pose, right? Which is really cool if you think about it, right? Really, really cool. So the one thing I would add here is I don't have anything of the other arm coming up from behind. So I want to at least allude to the beginning of that, right? I'd probably have it like sitting here at this point. So it's starting to break out, right? Like that. You see now I could see that arm coming up, right? Now, if it was a piece of Disney animation, I'd be way more careful about this. I would get all the arcs correct and make sure all the curves are working right and all the shapes and so on. I'm just doing this very quickly for you to get a sense of how this all operates. Okay, let's go to the next one. Right, so the next guy, I have one more here. Okay, so there's the reference. And I'm going to go over here. And let's knock this back again. So that's all good. Let me shut this photo off. And what we see here, what we see here is him kind of bending, bending forward, right? To there, right? So you can see in this image better, you can see it more clearly. So I want to see, I think what I want to do is bend him further again, right? So I'll take this is my first pose, right? Let's go black. Again, I want to be efficient about the shaping of his body. I always want to draw really big, so I'm trying to stay small here. Like super simple, efficient shapes. I just had an email from a student that was asking about like animating, and he was talking about anime. It was interesting because he mentioned some animators that I don't, I'm not aware of. I don't know that space that well. And the animations were pretty cool, I have to say. Like the timing on them was really, really good, but the drawings were not forceful. His question was like, how do I draw like these guys? How come they animate so well, and so on. And they did animate well because, again, the timing was very good, but the drawings were not so great, And, it proves a point in a sense, which is, you could become a pretty darn good animator without the shapes of the figures being super forceful. But I think you have to understand force from a physics standpoint to really get things moving around well, Now, what we're trying to teach you is both, right? We're trying to teach you both things. What we're trying to show you is not only is the timing everything important, right? Like that would be key. If I was teaching you animation, right? We want to be aware of timing and physics, but also that we're making good shapes. You'll notice if you're new to here today, all the shapes are almost this kind of shape, this like straight to curve, which almost ends up being like a pinched kind of triangle. If you look around my arms and legs and the torso, there's a lot of this like straight to curve action that's going on as I'm drawing, right? So it's really efficient. It's very fluid. The drama's already all there and it's all embedded in that space, right? So let's see if I can get my way over here. Let's see if I can figure this out again. Like, how did I do that? Let's see. So that's blurring out, but I need to go over here and get this up. There we go. Let's shut off these other guys. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I got this guy all the way out here. So what I want to do is I'm going to keep his feet grounded, right? I'm going to keep his foot there and the other one down there, except I'm going to have him bend all the way down, right? So, I'm going to put his pelvis about here. I'm going to have him arch over more. And I'm going to have him get like his arm down to the ground, right? So there's like triangle between his legs and his hand. So now he's like that. I'm going to bend that leg. I need to get back to where his foot is, though. I see where his foot is grounded. I can, like I said, I can imagine some of you were like, I don't understand how he's seeing any of this. But you know, when you learn how to animate, believe it or not, you really do learn to see through the noise. You know, like you get to see through the other drawings, right? And I can see my old drawings in there, right? Like this leg is here, right? So there it is, right? Now I'm here, right? So let's get the last one done so I can hand this off. So right in here is this in between, okay? So I could see the curve of his back, right? So I want to get that middle curve. I could see the front of his chest there and there. So I want to get that. I could see his head is here, and I could see the back of his head is here and here. So I want to get that back about right there. All right. Simple forms, simple shapes, right? To make it all work, right? Got his leg is about there. There's the back of his leg. Like so. We've got that front of the knee. I have to get that knee. I could see one is there and there. So the other one is to get here. And this leg is going to end up about here somewhere. Now I'm in trouble territory. It's even getting a little hard for me to see, but I think that pelvis is right there. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you can see it starting to move in there, right? Pretty cool. So that's starting to work. And then I want to get that hand and arm done. So I can see I lifted his hand. I need the middle hand about right there. And let's see, what did I do with his arm here? Okay, his arm's there, shoulders there, and then it's there. All right, so this scrubbing, all right, this is called scrubbing, right? I'm scrubbing the line here. This is like flipping the paper. All right, I'm trying to see like what's going on. In due time, I'd probably get better as to how I want the onion skinning to be set up and work for me at, you know, as efficiently as possible, which it's not doing right now. So I'm just going to do the best I can here. We're getting this, you know, getting this set up, right? So it's going to be something like this. And last but not least, we have to get to that front arm. So there it is, and there it is. I could see it now. Right, so I need this arm to land right about in there. Right, it's about right here. And I need his hand here. His arm's going to be about here. Look at that mess. Right, so let's see what we've got. I'm going to shut the onion skinning off, and then we'll see if there's anything I need to do to clean it up a little bit. All right, so there it is, right? Pretty cool. So I have him leaning forward and finally going into that final pose where I got him to the ground. You'll notice again, as that student had asked about, yes, I am getting to like a certain efficiency, right? Where I'm very simply shaping out the body with forces and silhouette, but keeping form in mind, right? In order to be able to get to this place, okay? So, all right, I'm going to hand it off. I hope this was interesting and exciting and inspiring for you guys. It's really fun to learn how to animate in 2D and get a sense of that. Doesn't mean you have to become a master animator by any means, but we want you to be aware that at the foundation of forced drawing is an animator's mindset, right? That things are always in motion. You know, that these drawings, let me go to this first one here. These drawings here are going in directions. You know, everything is always like, wow, his body is going that way, right? His body's going that way and it's hitting the shoulder and it's sweeping down this way. This is the leading edge, right? He's leading with his shoulder and I pushed his body down that way, right? So having a sense of where, again, things came from and where they need to go. All right. All right, guys. Swenley, I believe you're up. And I'll head over to the chat. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, awesome, Mike. So let's go over here. All right, so yeah, thank you, Mike, for that awesome intro. Hopefully you guys are inspired to draw already. So I
Good
know I'm
try.
inspired to draw.
That's good.
Yeah. So let's jump right into it. So I have a reference here, as you can see. Let's add this color so you can see the overlays better. So I'm just going to build further on what Mike showed you guys. And let's talk about a bit more in detail about the coming from and going to. And especially when you're dealing with a still photo like we're seeing here. In terms of the coming from, it helps to think about what we call the zero states, which is simply the model in a neutral pose. Like in this case, I can imagine that the zero states was the model standing in this straight upright position. So this is what we call the zero pose. So when I see a model in motion like this in a photo, I visualize how the model got into that pose from the zero pose. So let's imagine that the model was standing straight and upright. What did the model have to do with his or her body to get into that pose? And especially in which direction did they have to move? Speaking about the leading edge. So in this case, let's turn onion skin on here as well. So here we have the zero pose, and then this would be the key. Well, actually, this also would be considered a key, the zero pose. And here we have the final key, which is where the model ended. And as you can see, I have one breakdown, so zero pose. And this one is important because this transition from the zero pose to the breakdown helps me to understand the leading edge. So in which direction is the body moving? That's super important. And you can see the leading edge. I drew it here in an orange arrow. So if the model started in this position, she would have to apply force to like her stomach areas, like the bottom of the rib cage to stomach area, to move her body forwards in that position. So this transition here, super important. And from here, we get into the final pose. So if we play it here, let's see if this plays smoothly. So you can see this is actually, believe it or not, how we think. We think in motion, like how did a figure arrive at the pose that we can see? Because if you want to convey the idea of movement, you have to think about movement. If you think about a static image, you will draw a static image. It's what you think is what you get. So, and for this one, this was the coming from, by the way. So we started from the zero pose. So we went back in time. Mike spoke about time. We went back in time and imagined where the model started and where she came from, essentially, to get into this pose. Now we can also, of course, think about the going to, which basically you could consider it as an exaggeration of this pose. So what if I tell this model to make more of this pose, push it even further? And there's where the leading edge becomes important, because in order to push the pose, to exaggerate it, I need to, first of all, know the leading edge. Otherwise, I can exaggerate the pose in the wrong direction, and then it doesn't work anymore. And often we see students do that, and you end up with a whole different pose. So by knowing the leading edge, let me make a new layer, animation cell here. So I know the leading edge, and that means that to exaggerate the pose, actually we could increase the amount of applied force on that leading edge. So let's say that we add more applied force. And as a result, of course, she's going to lean forward even more. Let's go for a more transparent brush here. Yeah, that's better. So she's leaning forward more. So now the leading edge is about here. Now, if we continue imagining her torso, she might be now in this position. Also, she's coming forward and her torso is getting relatively even lower. Actually, I need to lower this more. If we think of the arc of motion, she would get slightly lower. And this is a good first step, because we know the leading edge. We increase the applied force on the leading edge, basically pushing her body further in space. In this case, she's coming closer to us, actually. And then the question is, how does her limbs react to that movement? Like, she still needs to stay balanced, of course. So we are basically increasing the applied force on this torso mass. Now, what's happening with the legs? She still needs to keep her balance. So this leg will come out here, and I think she could still perhaps keep her foot in the same place. So her foot would be like right here. So this is coming out, this is going down in space, and this foot will still remain in place. It just means that this leg is going to stretch even more. Also, we start getting an exaggerated version of the pose that we started with. Maybe she's going to like stretch out her arms even more. Disable the onion skin so you can see this. So maybe she's like stretching out her arms even more. Maybe she even changes the angle of the blade there. Now we might see a bit of the other arm back here. And I imagine her like bending her head forwards even further. So it could be something like this. So we go from here, zero pose, starts moving forward, she gets into the action, and she goes further. So let's look at it again, zero pose, she starts moving. This is the pose that we have, and this is the exaggerated version. So notice the more applied force on the leading edge. All right, let's look at another one. Any questions, by the way, Mike?
No, well, there are things that I'm answering as best I can. There was a great one from Dark Knight about the leading edge and if it's 2D or 3D idea. So I think, yeah, it's a great question. Like it can be a three-dimensional idea, but I really try to find it on the edge of the silhouette for clarity, but it is three-dimensional, but I almost look at the silhouette and go, this edge of the silhouette is what's pushing,
Yes. All right, let's look at another one. So this is the final pose, but if we go back again, where's the coming from? In this case, the zero pose. And of course, we can think of the model standing again, but I would say that's going too far back in time. We don't need that information. Even something like this would be enough, So her legs are basically in the same position. And actually, we can zoom in even more here. So I imagine the legs being in the same position, like I flatten this foot, so it's like firmly planted on the ground. And then she starts leaning forwards. So we go from here to here, and notice again the leading edge. So as soon as I start imagining her body moving in space, I get an idea of where that leading edge is. And the applied force arrow is basically showing the direction that her body is moving in space in this case. Also zero pose, she starts bending over, and then she arrives at the position that we see. And it's interesting because she's of course leaning her torso towards the camera. So the position of that arm makes sense, because she needs some support for the leaning weight. Let's look at it again. Zero pose, bending over, and this is where we end. Okay, so let me do one quick one for you guys before I hand it over to Mrityunjay. So let's take a look at this one. And for this one, I already, let's see, was it here? Yeah, so I already sketched the zero pose. So again, the model standing in a neutral position. And what would happen next? So if she's standing like this, the first thing that I think about in terms of leading edge, she has to like push that hip towards the screen left. So that means that from this position, she would have to start pushing her hip like down and towards the left. So I imagine her pelvis going that way. So with that in mind, I can already start moving her body towards the pose that we see. So her torso starts bending like this. And I imagine that this foot would remain in place, so I have to keep that in mind. See, let's do a quick underpants structure here. So I find a socket for the thigh, and this leg is starting to bend, so this starts coming forward in space, and this foot is of course facing us, and she starts to like slide this leg. So it's already stretched in the zero pose, so she probably starts like sliding it into that position. And next would be the final pose. So in terms of the leading edge, now she would apply even more force into that hip, probably end up like over there. Now this would bend even more. I have the socket for the thigh there. And like Mike mentioned, when you're doing this, you have to stay fast and loose, because you have many drawings to work through. So you can't be too precious about one drawing. You just have to get the job done. So here's a quick animation of just the torso and the legs to start with. So zero pose. Yeah, thank you. She starts moving, and then the final position. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Mrityunjay, so he has enough time to show us some awesome drawings. It's all yours, Mrityunjay.
All right. Thank you, Sonli.
That was cool, Swanley. I like that last pose. Hopefully it shows all of you guys that when you look at that photograph, that now the model, obviously had to bend down and push into that hip, right, to get to that place, right? That's the interpretation here. So to see that you can make sure you have that amount of force in the pelvis due to the fact that you went from zero to get to that place, right? Like that matters. And that's the direction that she moved in, and that direction creates applied force, and that you want that in the drawing.
Yep. All right. So I guess we're just like tied together, right? So yeah, we went through the leading edges, and then we went through like the yeah, like the arcs and everything. So we'll just like try to tie it together in this the small animation. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Swendy. That was really good. All right. So let's see. Keep our heads here. So I don't know, like if I have something extra, I mean there are like a lot of things, so like timing and spacing and like all of those things, but the goal is not to like go to like too much of the technical part, and like just introduce you guys. The goal is to introduce you guys to the fun, that you can have while drawing the figures. Like think about the motion basically. Okay, we're just gonna focus on to that. I'm just afraid I'm not going to be as clean as Mike and Sunday. So please bear with me. I'm going to be a little bit rough, and I'll be having a little bit more fun, while drawing. All right. So let's start. I'm just uh I'm just being accused of a really sloppy animator in the past. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So I'll just draw this quick gesture first, Let's start with this key pose, okay? Mm, and I'll be animating straight ahead, So if you guys are not aware of like what straight ahead is, basically you can animate with like two types. You can go for like straight ahead animation or like pose to pose. So in straight ahead, you're just like going for one drawing over the other drawing over the other drawing over the other drawing, kind of like that. And with pose to pose, you're like a much more in control and planned. So you just like make your keys first, then make your like extremes then, and then you're going for like the breakdowns, then you're going for like the in betweens, and so on and so on, right? So it's like much more planned and more control. Okay. And straight ahead is just like, yeah, so here's the drawing, and it's gonna do another drawing, another drawing, another drawing, so it's kind of like that. Both have like pros and cons to it, and one of the pros to straight ahead is it is much faster, right? Okay, so here we have it. I'll probably just be showing you like how to like move quickly, and like just with like a few lines, how we can like have more fun and just like check whether you're going in the right direction or not, instead of just like going for the shapes. Okay. And again, it's up to you. Like you can be much more cleaner with just like Mike and Sunday, just mention and dated it. All right, so here's another frame. I'm also animating on choose, by the way, so you can see I'm on the third frame instead of the second frame. Okay, because I don't want to animate on 24 right now. I'm animating on 12. So all right, let's see like what she's gonna do. So I'm just and now please decide like after like you're drawing a key pose if like where the model should be moving, right? Like, would be she moving this way? Would she be moving this way? Well, in any case, I'll just say like that's like she's reaching the limits of her bodies in like this pose. So let's move her this way. Okay, let's see how it goes. Now, many of you guys might be asking, is like, okay, how do you know the pose, right? How do you draw it? I don't know. It's just about like feeling. Okay, and obviously it's about like drawing hundreds of poses, and then you'll definitely be knowing like what templates to choose and what not to, right? That is really dependent, right? But yeah, let's see if she goes this way, right? Uh, let's say I will put her hand here. I'm also thinking about the silhouette a little bit, right? So it's up to my choice, right? I can put this hand like all the way right back in there, or maybe something like this, but that would ruin the silhouette a little bit, right? So I'm also thinking about that. There's so many things you can actually think about. You have to think about in the animation, but here, let's just keep doing this. She will be bending a leg a little bit, right? And that leg might come up to the front a little, right? So here she's starting to like get some out and out, right? Out and out template, That's what I'm thinking right now. We'll see how it works. Yeah, I have not planned this animation at all, right? So I'm all doing it. Yeah, I'm all doing it, in front of you. Okay, let's see. So I want to swing her this way, right? That would be amazing. Just want to like give her not that broad of the shoulders, right? Because she's a female, right? I want to keep that feel to her body. All right, this way. That looks far more better. I'm talking about arcs, see how I'm moving that in arcs. So she's her body like coming up from here to here. Okay. All right. Let's see how it goes. So in the next frame, I'll bring her up in here. Again, just like I said, I'll be animating in straight ahead. So I'm not planning out the space right now, or oh, that would be my key, or this would be my key. It's all in, right? In between extremes, breakdowns, whatever. All right. So I want to bring her here. Let's see. Now really be just like playing in 3D space. One of you mentioned about this like leading edge and like 3D space, and I kind of like it, because yes, it's definitely, much more of a 2D thing, because I mean it works, right? It works in 3D and 2D, that the concept works in both of that. It's just that, here I'm using much more of that into a 3D view, So she's far back in there, as you can see in the rep. Oh, for that. She's far back in there now. She's like coming towards us. Okay, and some poses might not work, So maybe that's not working for me. So I'll bring it up in here. Let's see how it goes. So I'll bring it up in here. Okay. So that would be my shoulders, right? I mean her shoulders. And here's her head, should be like this. I want to bring out the other arm, So maybe I'll go back in that frame, and I'll see. Okay, so this arm comes like here. That arm, okay. We'll take care of her other arm and coming from there. Okay. So maybe she's like stretching that rope or whatever, right here. Okay. All right, coming back to this one. Okay, so this arm comes this side. And then this arm comes this side. So I'll just like keep that running right here. Maybe not like that. Maybe I just want to do something more like this. I'm really trying to play with the space in this case, And I know like the drawings might look like way too rough, I know. But it's not about that cleanliness. It's not about that, you know, it's not about that cleanliness. I don't want to get the clean line. I would rather have like a dynamic line, and that the line that moves into space, rather than just like having a clean line. This is something I would definitely be worried about more. Okay, this leg might be coming up like this, and then this leg. See, that leg has like a big gap in there. Okay, might be like this. And I can bring her other arm like here as well. Yeah, that would be good. Again, if that would be for like a plain animation, or maybe for a commission, or maybe for a studio, I would not be doing it like straight ahead. I would just like plan out keys and keys. I mean, post, right? I would do it like pose to pose. But here, the goal is to just have fun, and see your drawing move. Believe me, once you do it, like that is like very cool to watch. It's like, oh my God, I'm giving life to that drawing. That's amazing. Okay. All right, let's go this side. I want this like little C curve in there, right there. Now she's like moving the other way, so I'm just gonna quickly do it and see how this look at that leg back in there, like how foreshortened that looks now, because she's bending forward, so her legs are going to be at the same place. It's just going to be the feet is going to be rotated, but the heel is going to be the same place, right? So yeah, but look how foreshortened that leg looks now. Okay,
She's
now
really going wild with that rope. What is she doing with Tunjay?
say it again.
She's really going wild with that rope in your animation. What is she doing?
She's swinging. Like
she's gonna jump rope.
she might be like strangling someone, like, oh,
What is that called? A bolo or a bole? Where you have the rope with a sphere at the end, and you throw it to like go around someone's legs, right? She's gonna like toss it, wrap around somebody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's strangling someone.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
All right. All right. Now, again, I'm worried about the silhouette a little bit. Like, she's going there. Yeah, I honestly have no idea, guys, what she's doing. I am just in the full mode right now of like making some mess. Okay. we have a few
A
minutes left.
bolo. Yes, thank you. Synopsis. A bolo.
There's a rope. I actually forget the rope. There's a rope right there. Okay, happy guys.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's do one more pose here really quick.
That wrap would be the rope would be an overlapping action, by the way,
Oh yeah, exactly.
or secondary action.
Reaction. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So I can. Okay, that's advantage of digital. You can make your drawings and move a little bit. Okay, let's see. So I want to like rotate the feet towards us now. No, that would be hurt. Like she would be hurt if you don't do that. And just do like a very straight pose right here. And
Doing this in Clip Studio, by the way, he finally crossed over to the other sides.
To the dark side.
dark side.
Yes.
So
And
the
Mike,
on the Clip Studio side. Key. Okay. There she go. Sorry, Mike, you were saying something.
I was just going to say that you guys are trying to convince me to head over there. I'm going to try playing with Clip Studio in the next month or so. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. Not a little animation there. See how it works. Just bring this up and over here. But I honestly have only this much experience with it. All right. There we go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Her leg,
Rotation.
I mean, way too much forward. But again, it's like things you can polish, guys, right? So for example, that leg right there, it's like coming way too much towards us, right? We can like go ahead and just like kind of rub it a little bit and like polish it. But if you don't have this base, you can't do it, right? So don't go for like perfection in the beginning. You can like polish it later. Okay. Now you're not wasting pages, you're doing it digitally. It would be efficient. Okay. So don't worry about it. All right. Hope you enjoyed, guys. And I'll hand it over to Mike.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Matunjay and Swenley. Those were awesome. Hopefully we inspired you to leave today with the idea of thinking about movement, right? That you want to get movement in your poses. That's how you get force. That's how you get dynamism. Force is about motion, right? And you're trying to think about the body moving in directions. You want to think about where the pose is coming from, the moment that it's in potentially in the photograph, and even where it can go to. And I think that's a great exercise for you as well, is to try to draw that prior and post drawings compared to the moment you're seeing in the photo. So we're going to be doing more of these in the upcoming weeks. Maybe we'll pick like certain stunts or context for the models to be in. I'm not sure yet. We have to brainstorm on that, but I think we're going to be playing around with this idea for the next few weeks. And that's it. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Force Friday today. And we will see you in 7 days. Take care, guys.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye. All right, we're out. All right, guys, I got